Professor Quilox adjusted his 4 spectacles with trembling tentacles as he reviewed the enrollment list for Advanced Xenobiology 401. The Galactic University's most prestigious course had attracted students from 73 different worlds this semester. Each species was required to bring their homeworld's most docile companion creature for comparative behavioral analysis. Simple enough, right? Wrong. Attention, class! Quilox's voice crackled through the translation matrix as students filed into the massive biodome classroom. Welcome to what I sincerely hope will not be my final semester teaching. The Vorthan twins, Blip and Blop, giggled while their pet Fluffernox purred softly in its containment sphere. The creature resembled a cotton ball with tiny rainbow wings, emitting pleasant musical tones that could lull a raging kraken to sleep. Adorable, Quilox muttered, making notes on his datapad. Completely harmless. Excellent choice. Next came Zara from Kepler Prime, carrying what appeared to be a living gemstone. The prismatic moth sparkled brilliantly, casting beautiful light patterns across the dome's walls. Lovely, lovely, Quilox nodded approvingly. Non-aggressive, aesthetically pleasing, 0 threat level. The Aquarian delegate, Finn, had brought his bubble sprite, a translucent jellyfish-like creature that floated gracefully through specially designed water tubes throughout the classroom. It left trails of bioluminescent sparkles wherever it drifted. Magnificent specimen, Quilox praised. I'm sensing a pattern here. Gentle, peaceful companions that pose absolutely no danger to... Just one thing before we begin. YouTube tells me 94.3% of you watching aren't subscribed. Subscribing is free. It really supports the channel, and you'll get more amazing HFY sci-fi stories delivered straight to you. Don't miss out. The massive titanium doors suddenly groaned open. Every head, tentacle, and sensory organ in the room turned toward the entrance. Heavy footsteps echoed through the dome as a bipedal figure approached. The human was tall, lean, with dark hair, and an unsettling grin that revealed far too many teeth. "Sorry I'm late, Professor," the human called out cheerfully. "Traffic was murder getting here." "Oh, and before you ask, yes, I did bring my pet." Quilox's primary stomach dropped. "And where exactly is this companion of yours, Miss—" "Riley Parker," she replied, hefting a reinforced containment crate that looked suspiciously like military-grade armor plating. "And she's right here. Fair warning, though, she's been cooped up for the entire hyperspace jump. She might be a bit cranky." The entire class leaned forward with curiosity. What kind of Earth creature required such heavy-duty containment? Perhaps some sort of colorful bird? A small mammal with soft fur? Maybe even one of those legendary Earth creatures called puppies that supposedly induced euphoria in anyone who looked at them. Riley set the crate down with a metallic thud that shook the floor. "Everyone ready to meet Luna?" "Wait," Quilox stammered, his 4 eyes widening in horror as he consulted his datapad. The assignment specifically stated docile companion creatures. Surely Earth has gentle, harmless pets like the other worlds. Riley's grin widened. "Oh, we do. Hamsters, goldfish, butterflies, boring stuff like that. But where's the fun in bringing something ordinary to advanced xenobiology?" She began inputting a complex unlock sequence into the crate's digital panel. Multiple warning lights flashed red. An automated voice began counting down from 10 in 17 different languages. "Miss Parker," Quilox's voice rose an octave. "What exactly is the classification of your chosen specimen?" "Well," Riley said casually, "technically, She's an apex predator. But don't worry, I've had her since she was a cub. She's practically domesticated. The countdown reached 0. Magnetic locks disengaged with loud clanks. The front panel of the crate slowly lowered to reveal absolute silence. 2 glowing amber eyes stared out from the shadows within the crate. The rest of the creature remained hidden, but everyone could hear it breathing. Deep, rumbling breaths that seemed to resonate through the floor itself. Blip and Blop's Fluffernox immediately stopped purring and tried to hide behind its own wings. The prismatic moth's beautiful colors shifted to warning patterns of deep red and black. Even the peaceful bubble sprite retreated to the furthest water tube from Riley's position. "Class," Quillox whispered, his voice barely audible. "I think we should evacuate." "Come on out, girl," Riley cooed sweetly into the crate. "Time to meet your new friends." What emerged was pure nightmare fuel. Luna was a Bengal tiger, but not just any tiger. This was 300 pounds of perfectly evolved killing machine, with muscles that rippled beneath orange and black stripes, paws the size of dinner plates, and canine teeth longer than most beings' fingers. Her massive head swiveled slowly as she surveyed the classroom, golden eyes taking inventory of every potential prey item present. Which, unfortunately, was everyone. "Everyone, meet Luna," Riley announced proudly, scratching behind the tiger's ears as if she were petting a house cat. She's 4 years old, loves salmon, and her hobbies include hunting, sleeping, and intimidating the mailman. Quillox fainted. The Vorthan twins had gone completely pale, their Fluffernox now unconscious from sheer terror. Zara's prismatic moth was flashing what could only be described as, "Oh, sweet cosmic void, we're all going to die," in bright, panicked patterns. Finn had somehow managed to hide entirely inside his water tube system. "Is the professor okay?" Riley asked, looking genuinely concerned as Quillox lay unconscious on the floor. "I hope he's not allergic to cats. That would be awkward." Luna padded forward, her massive paws making surprisingly little sound on the classroom floor. She approached Quillox's prone form and sniffed curiously. The professor's tentacles twitched reflexively, even in unconsciousness. "No, Luna," Riley said firmly. "We don't eat. The faculty? Remember our talk about professional boundaries?" The tiger huffed, sounding almost disappointed, and settled into a sphinx-like position. Her tail swished lazily as she continued observing the other students with the calculating gaze of an apex predator deciding which meal to save for later. "So," Riley continued cheerfully, "what's the first lesson about? Comparative behavioral analysis? Because I've got tons of data about predatory instincts, hunting strategies, and territorial dominance. Luna's basically a living case study in evolutionary perfection." Slowly, cautiously, the other students began to recover from their initial shock. The Aquarian's head emerged from the water tubes like a periscope. That creature is your pet?" Finn asked incredulously. "Family pet, actually," Riley corrected. "My dad thought it would be character building. Teaches responsibility, respect for nature, and how to clean really, really large litter boxes." "But how do you sleep at night?" Blip squeaked, "knowing that thing is in your house." Riley looked genuinely confused. "She usually sleeps on my bed. Great for keeping warm during winter. Plus, she's an excellent burglar deterrent." Zara's prismatic moth finally stopped flashing panic colors long enough for her to ask, "Doesn't it try to eat you?" "Only when she's really hungry, and I forget dinner time," Riley laughed. "But that's just normal pet behavior, right?" "All pets get a bit nippy when they're hungry." The collective silence that followed suggested that no, That was not normal pet behavior for anyone else in the galaxy. Luna yawned, revealing a mouthful of teeth that could shred steel. The sound echoed through the dome like distant thunder. Several students instinctively took steps backward. "Adorable, isn't she?" Riley beamed. "She does that when she's relaxed. It means she likes you guys." "That sound," whispered a student from the back. "Could it be happy?" "Oh yeah, she's practically purring. You should hear her when she's actually excited. The windows in our house are specially reinforced." Professor Quilox's eyes fluttered open just in time to see Luna stretching. The tiger extended her front legs, arched her back, and flexed claws that could easily disembowel a small spacecraft. The sight was both magnificent and absolutely terrifying. "Class dismissed," he croaked weakly. "But Professor," Riley protested, "we just got started." Luna's barely had a chance to introduce herself. She's actually quite social once you get to know her. As if responding to her name, Luna stood and padded toward the nearest group of students. The Vorthon twins clutched each other in terror as 300 pounds of apex predator approached them with obvious interest. "She probably just wants to say hello," Riley explained as every student in the vicinity scrambled for higher ground. "She's curious about different species. Very scientifically minded." Luna paused in front of the twins' Fluffernox, which had somehow managed to turn itself completely transparent in what appeared to be an evolutionary defense mechanism. The tiger tilted her head, studying the trembling creature with intense concentration. "No, Luna," Riley said sternly. "The classroom pets are not snacks. We've discussed this." The tiger looked back at Riley with an expression that seemed to say, "But they're so small and fluffy, and they smell delicious." Then she huffed again and continued her tour of the classroom, leaving a trail of traumatized students in her wake. "Perhaps," Quilox suggested weakly, "we could reschedule today's lesson? Give everyone time to adjust to the new dynamic?" "That's probably wise," Riley agreed. "Luna needs some exercise anyway. All that time in hyperspace made her restless. Do you have a gymnasium? Preferably one without anything breakable?" "Miss Parker," Quilox managed, "might I ask why, of all the harmless creatures on Earth, you chose to bring an apex predator to my xenobiology class?" Riley's expression became serious for the first time since entering the classroom. "Because, Professor, understanding predators is just as important as understanding prey. Luna represents 4 million years of evolutionary refinement. She's not just a pet. She's a masterclass in survival, adaptation, and the delicate balance between power and control." She knelt beside Luna, who immediately nuzzled against her shoulder with surprising gentleness. Besides, she needed the socialization. It's not often she gets to meet beings from other worlds. "And what about our socialization?" Blip squeaked from his hiding spot atop the equipment cabinet. "What if we don't want to be socialized by something that views us as potential meals?" "That's the beauty of it," Riley grinned, that unsettling expression returning. "You'll learn more about survival instincts, threat assessment, and species interaction in one semester with Luna than you would in a decade with ordinary pets." Luna chose that moment to emit a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through the entire dome structure. It wasn't threatening, more like a massive cat purring, but the effect on the other students was immediate and dramatic. "Class definitely dismissed," Quilox declared, struggling to his feet. "Everyone out, slowly, no sudden movements. And Miss Parker, perhaps we could discuss alternative arrangements for your pet?" "Sure thing, Professor," Riley replied cheerfully. "Luna and I are always open to compromise. As long as it doesn't involve her being caged or sedated or anything like that, She's very social and gets separation anxiety. As the students began their careful exodus from the classroom, Luna settled into a comfortable position and began grooming herself with a tongue the size of a small towel. The sight of her massive teeth and the casual way she cleaned blood-red claws made several students quicken their pace significantly. Same time? Tomorrow? Riley called after them. Luna's really looking forward to getting to know everyone better. The only response was the sound of running footsteps and rapidly closing doors. Riley looked down at Luna, who gazed back with those piercing amber eyes. "Well, girl, I think we made a great first impression. Don't you?" Luna's answering purr could probably be heard from orbit. 3 days had passed since what the university staff now referred to as the incident. Professor Quillox sat in his office, surrounded by transfer requests, complaint forms, and a formal inquiry from the Galactic Education Board. His 4 hands shuffled through the paperwork while his assistant, a nervous crystalloid named Jex, hovered nearby with a cup of calming tea. "Professor," Jex chittered anxiously, "the Chancellor wants to see you in 20 minutes. Something about unprecedented safety violations and potential lawsuits from 17 different worlds." Quillox groaned, his tentacles sagging with exhaustion. "Any word from Miss Parker?" "She sent a message this morning. Her exact words were, 'Luna is settling in great. Found the perfect spot for her daily runs. See you in class.' There was also a video attachment, but I was too terrified to open it." Before Quillox could respond, his office door exploded inward. Not metaphorically, literally exploded. Wood fragments scattered across the room as Riley Parker burst through, followed by Luna, who had apparently decided that doors were more of a suggestion than an actual barrier. "Morning, Professor," Riley announced cheerfully, stepping over the debris. "Sorry about the door." Luna's still learning about inside voice when she wants attention. Quillox stared at the destroyed entrance, then at the tiger casually licking her paw as if demolishing university property was perfectly normal behavior. "Miss Parker, we need to discuss—" "Great timing," Riley interrupted. "I've been working on Luna's socialization exercises." "Want to see her new trick?" "Absolutely not. Luna, show Professor Quillox your happy dance." What happened next defied several laws of physics and at least 3 interstellar treaties regarding weapons of mass destruction. Luna stood on her hind legs, spun in a complete circle, and then landed with such force that every piece of furniture in the office jumped 6 inches off the ground. Books fell from shelves. Quillox's collection of rare specimens rattled in their cases, and somewhere in the building, a fire alarm started wailing. "Isn't she talented?" Riley beamed. "We've been practicing in the gymnasium." "Well, what's left of it?" Jex made a strangled sound that might have been crying. "The gymnasium is destroyed." "Remodeled," Riley corrected. "Luna needed more space for proper exercise. Did you know she can jump 12 feet vertically?" "I sure didn't until she got stuck in the ceiling yesterday." Professor Quillox felt another fainting spell approaching. "Miss Parker, I've received 17 transfer requests, 43 formal complaints, and the Vorthan Embassy has declared Luna a threat to galactic peace. We need to find alternative arrangements." Riley's cheerful expression faltered. "You want us to leave?" "I want to survive the semester with my sanity intact," Quillox replied honestly. "Your companion has traumatized half my students. Blip and Blop haven't left their dormitory in 3 days. Zara's prismatic moth has turned permanently gray from stress. And yesterday, Luna somehow got into the cafeteria." "Oh, that," Riley waved dismissively. "She was just curious about alien cuisine." How was she supposed to know that the Zephyrian lunch special was still alive? She ate a student's pet. She caught a student's lunch, Riley corrected. And technically, the floating squid things are considered a delicacy on 12 different worlds. Luna was just being culturally adventurous. Quilox buried his face in his hands. The pet belonged to Ambassador Crix's daughter. We nearly caused a diplomatic incident. Did we, though? Riley asked seriously. Because Luna did offer to share. That's good manners where I come from. Luna, apparently bored with the conversation, wandered over to examine Quilox's collection of rare specimens. She pressed her massive face against one of the containment cases, studying a small, glowing creature inside. The specimen immediately curled into a defensive ball and began emitting high-pitched distress signals. "Luna, no," Riley said absently. "We don't play with the professor's science projects." The tiger huffed in disappointment, but moved away from the specimens. Instead, she decided to investigate Quilox's desk, which immediately groaned under her weight as she jumped onto it. Papers scattered, his computer screen cracked, and his prized pen collection rolled onto the floor. "She likes you," Riley observed. "She only sits on furniture belonging to people she trusts." "How reassuring," Quilox muttered, watching his desk slowly collapse under 300 pounds of apex predator. "Miss Parker, surely you can see that this arrangement isn't working." Riley was quiet for a moment, scratching Luna behind the ears. The tiger's purring created a subsonic vibration that made the remaining intact windows rattle ominously. "You know," Riley said slowly, "back on Earth, people used to be afraid of Luna too. My neighbors, the mailman, that unfortunate door-to-door salesman. But once they got to know her, they realized she's not just a predator. She's intelligent, loyal, and protective. She nearly gave the dean a heart attack yesterday when she followed him into the faculty lounge. She was being friendly. Earth cats bring gifts to people they like. Luna just brought him a chair. Granted, it was still attached to the table, and the table was bolted to the floor, but it's the thought that counts." Jex, who had been cowering in the corner, finally found his voice. "Miss Parker, perhaps there's a compromise? Something that doesn't involve your pet terrorizing the entire university?" Riley's eyes lit up. "Actually, I've been thinking about that. What if Luna became a teaching assistant?" "Absolutely not." "Hear me out," Riley continued enthusiastically. "She's a perfect example of predatory behavior, evolutionary adaptation, and survival instincts. The students could learn more from observing her than from any textbook. The students are too terrified to observe anything except the nearest exit." "That's just initial shock," Riley argued. "Give them time to adjust. Besides, Luna's already teaching them valuable lessons about threat assessment and situational awareness." As if to demonstrate, Luna suddenly lifted her head, ears pricked forward. Her entire body went rigid, focused on something beyond their perception. The change was instantaneous and terrifying. One moment, she was a large, lazy cat. The next, she was a coiled spring of pure predatory potential. "What is it, girl?" Riley asked, immediately alert. The answer came in the form of a blood-curdling scream from somewhere in the building, followed by the sound of running footsteps, and what sounded suspiciously like someone climbing the exterior wall. "Probably just another student spotting Luna through the window," Riley explained casually. "She has that effect on people." "Miss Parker," Quilox said desperately, "surely you can see that this isn't sustainable. The university can't function with a predator roaming the halls." "She doesn't roam," Riley protested. "She explores." "There's a difference, and she's actually solved several problems already. Such as, well, remember that infestation of tunnel rats in the basement? Gone. The aggressive nesting birds that were attacking students in the courtyard? They relocated to a different continent. And those midnight prowlers that were breaking into dormitories? They haven't been seen since Luna marked the campus as her territory. Quilox paused. The tunnel rats are gone? Completely. Luna cleared them out in one afternoon. Very efficient. And the nesting birds relocated voluntarily? After a brief territorial negotiation, yes. Luna was very diplomatic about it. Despite himself, Quilox felt a spark of interest. Those pest problems had been plaguing the university for years. What about the midnight prowlers? Riley grinned. Let's just say they received a very clear message about trespassing. Luna takes property rights seriously. She didn't eat them, did she? Of course not. Riley looked offended. She just explained, in terms they could understand, that this territory was occupied by something much more dangerous than they were. Very effective communication. Luna, having determined that whatever caught her attention was no longer a threat, settled back down on the remains of Quilox's desk. She began grooming herself again, each lick of her massive tongue creating a rasping sound like sandpaper on metal. "Professor," Riley said seriously, "I understand your concerns. Luna is intimidating. That's millions of years of evolution at work. But she's not just a predator. She's a teacher, a protector, and, honestly, this place could use a little natural order." Natural order? Look around, Riley gestured broadly. Students from 73 different worlds, all trying to coexist peacefully. That's not natural. That's artificial harmony maintained by rules and regulations. But Luna? She establishes hierarchy through presence alone. No violence, no aggression, just pure, undeniable authority. As if to prove her point, there was a soft knock on the destroyed doorframe. Finn, the Aquarian student, peered nervously around the corner. "Excuse me, Professor," he said in a tiny voice, "but Luna solved the problem with the filtration system in the aquatic wing." "She what now?" Quilox asked. "The pipes were blocked by some kind of aggressive algae," Finn explained, keeping a respectful distance from Luna. "Nothing we tried could clear it. But Luna..." She looked at the problem for about 30 seconds, then stuck her paw into the main intake and pulled out this massive clump of plant matter. The whole system is running perfectly now. Riley beamed proudly. She's very good at problem solving. Apex predators have to be. How did she even reach the intake pipes? Quilox asked, bewildered. Turns out she's an excellent swimmer, Finn replied. Who knew tigers could hold their breath for that long? Before anyone could process this information, another student appeared. Zara, whose prismatic moth had finally returned to normal colors. "Professor Quilox," she said shyly, "I wanted to thank Luna for what she did yesterday." "What did she do yesterday?" Riley asked curiously. "Some of the senior students were bullying my prismatic moth, saying it was too small and weak compared to their pets," Zara explained. "Luna just appeared. She didn't do anything threatening, just sat there and watched them until they apologized and left us alone." "That's my girl," Riley said proudly, giving Luna an affectionate pat that would have crushed most beings. More students began appearing in the doorway. The Vorthan twins, Blip and Blop, crept forward carrying their Fluffernox, which was no longer transparent with fear. Blip said nervously. "Luna helped us too." "Our Fluffernox got sick," Blop continued. "The veterinary office said they didn't know how to treat Vorthan physiology." "But Luna..." "She just sniffed Fluffy, then went and brought back this plant from the botanical garden." Turns out, it was exactly the right medicine. She's very intuitive about health issues, Riley explained. Predators need to be able to assess the condition of everything around them. Professor Quilox looked around his destroyed office at the growing crowd of students who were no longer terrified but genuinely grateful, and at Luna, who was now surrounded by previously traumatized alien pets, all of whom seemed to be seeking her approval rather than running in terror. "I don't understand," he admitted. "How did she go from being the most feared creature on campus to this?" "She was never the problem," Riley said gently. "Fear was the problem. Once everyone realized she wasn't here to hurt them, they could see what she really is: a guardian, a problem solver, and, yes, a teacher." Luna looked up at Quilox with those piercing amber eyes, and for the first time, he didn't see a predator evaluating prey. He saw intelligence, patience, and something that might have been amusement. "Miss Parker," he said slowly, "would you be interested in making this arrangement official?" Riley's face lit up like a supernova. "You mean it?" "Luna has solved more campus problems in 3 days than our maintenance staff has handled in 3 years, Quilox admitted. "Perhaps it's time we acknowledge that sometimes the best teacher is the one everyone is afraid of, until they realize they don't need to be." "Professor," Jex interrupted nervously, "what about the Chancellor? The complaints? The Galactic Education Board?" Quilox looked at his growing collection of grateful students, at the pile of solved problems, and at Luna, who had somehow managed to create order through her mere presence. "Tell the Chancellor that we've implemented a revolutionary new teaching method," he said firmly. "Experiential learning through apex-predator interaction. And if he asks for specifics, tell him Luna ate the paperwork." Riley burst out laughing. "She'd do it too. She has terrible taste in reading material." As if on cue, Luna stood up, stretched magnificently, and padded over to the pile of complaint forms. She sniffed them once, then settled down on top of them like the world's most dangerous paperweight. "Class begins in 1 hour, Quilox announced to the assembled students. "Today's lesson: predatory behavior and ecosystem management. Attendance is, surprisingly, no longer mandatory, but highly recommended." "What changed?" Blip asked curiously. Quilox watched Luna supervising her domain with calm authority, students and their pets arranged around her in a natural hierarchy that somehow felt perfectly balanced rather than threatening. "I realized," he said thoughtfully, "that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the room is also the safest thing in the room. It all depends on whether you're friend or prey." Riley grinned, scratching Luna behind the ears. "Welcome to Earth Logic, Professor, where apex predators make the best babysitters, and the most feared creatures are often the most protective." Luna's purr resonated through the building, but this time, instead of causing panic, it seemed to settle everyone into a sense of peaceful order. The sound of a predator at rest, confident in her territory, with her pack safe around her. "Class dismissed for now," Quilox said with a smile. "But Miss Parker? Next semester, I'm putting you in charge of advanced interspecies relations. I have a feeling Luna's teaching methods are exactly what this university needs." "Just promise me one thing," Riley said, as students began filing out, chattering excitedly about the upcoming lesson. "What's that?" "Get a stronger desk. Luna really does like you, and she's not done growing yet." Professor Quilox looked at his completely destroyed desk, then at Luna, who was now being gently petted by a dozen different alien species who had gone from terror to trust in just 3 days. "I'll order titanium," he said. with reinforced supports. Luna's answering purr suggested she approved of the upgrade. Outside, the university campus hummed with a new kind of energy. Students walked a little taller, knowing they were under the protection of an apex predator who had somehow become their guardian. The natural order had been established not through fear, but through respect, understanding, and the revolutionary idea that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the galaxy could also be the most nurturing. And in the center of it all, a human and her tiger had proven once again that Earth logic, while terrifying to most of the galaxy, had a way of making everything work out exactly as it should.